The jungle screamed. A warning klaxon cut through the muggy air, echoing across the metal walls of Outpost Kestrel. Beyond the gates, the canopy swayed as if the entire forest had taken a breath. Branches snapped in a steady rhythm. Something large was moving fast. Colonists froze where they stood, machetes and plasma cutters half raised. "Movement at 2 o'clock!" a soldier shouted, weapon snapping up. The undergrowth exploded. Six-limbed predators burst into view, sleek black hides glistening in the humid light. Their eyes glowed with a predatory fire that made even armored men falter. The beasts moved in formation, low, coordinated, hunting. Plasma rifles fired. Bolts lit up the gloom. A worker screamed as one of the monsters vaulted a fallen log, jaws snapping shut inches from his face. Panic surged through the line. And then, cutting across the chaos, a girl's voice rang out. "Hold your fire. Don't run." Kaylin Mira stepped from the line of colonists. 19 years old, slight in build, sweat plastering auburn strands against her brow. She carried no weapon. She raised her hand, palm out, steady as stone. The predators skidded to a halt, muscles bunched under their hides, claws gouging deep furrows into the dirt. They snarled, fangs bare, but none moved closer. Their eyes locked on her, confusion flickering where rage had burned a moment earlier. Kaylin didn't flinch. "Back!" she said, voice calm. A sharp whistle left her lips. 3 short bursts. The pack leader's head tilted. It let out a guttural sound, and, as if answering some unspoken command, the beasts turned. One by one, they melted into the green wall of the jungle. Silence crashed down. The soldiers lowered their rifles slowly. Colonists stared, wide-eyed, hearts still racing. Whispers broke out. They stopped. Because of her. "Did you see that?" They listened. Commander Eric Draven pushed through the crowd, armor clanking, jaw set like iron. He was a broad man, hardened by 40 years and a dozen campaigns. Every inch of him radiating control. His eyes swept the jungle, then fixed on Kaylin. "You," he growled. "What in hell was that?" Kaylin dropped her hand. Her breathing was steady, though her pulse thundered in her chest. They weren't hunting. They were warning us off. If we kept shooting, they would have torn through all of us. Dravan's lip curled. "Spare me philosophy. Beasts don't warn. They kill. And you," he stepped closer, looming, "you don't order soldiers to stand down. Ever." Kaylin met his gaze, unblinking. "If I hadn't, half the colony would be dead." A ripple of unease passed through the onlookers. Dravan sensed it and snapped his fingers. "Back to work. Reset the perimeter. Anyone else thinks the jungle can be reasoned with, you'll join the next patrol outside the walls, unarmed." The colonists scattered quickly. Dravan lingered, eyes narrowing at Kaylin. "No one commands predators," he muttered, voice low enough for only her to hear. "Unless—" He left without finishing. Kaylin turned away, her stomach tight with dread. She didn't enjoy the stares that followed her, half awe, half suspicion. The settlement sat on the edge of survival. Metal walls rose like scars against the wild, hemming in rows of prefab housing and greenhouses, straining against the choking humidity. Out here, every day was a negotiation with death. Kaylin walked the narrow pathways, ignoring muttered conversations trailing in her wake. She ducked into the eastern gate and slipped past the sentries, who didn't bother stopping her anymore. Everyone knew the commander hated her wandering the jungle, but no one dared block her path. She preferred it outside. The forest swallowed her whole within minutes. Towering trees climbed higher than city spires, their roots twisted into labyrinthine walls. The air was heavy with rot and flowers that smelled faintly of copper. Insects thrummed in endless chorus. To most colonists, the place was a nightmare. To her, it was alive in ways the colony could never be. Kaylin crouched, studying a claw mark raked across a fallen trunk. Fresh. The predators hadn't gone far. She pressed her hand into the groove, tracing its depth, imagining the weight behind it. A rustle made her glance left. A small shape emerged from the shadows. Sleek black hide, golden eyes too large for its narrow head. A siltar cub, no larger than a dog, limped into view. One leg dragged slightly, scraped raw. Kaylin's heart clenched. Slowly, she lowered herself, palms open, voice soft. "Easy, little one. I won't hurt you." The cub froze. Its nostrils flared, tasting her scent. For a long moment, the jungle held its breath. Then, hesitantly, the creature padded closer. Kaylin pulled a ration bar from her satchel, broke it, and set half on the ground. The cub sniffed, then devoured it, keeping its gaze locked on her. "You're not afraid." she whispered, reaching out. Her fingers brushed sleek hide. The cub shivered, then leaned against her hand, faint purr vibrating through its body. Behind them, deeper in the trees, golden eyes glimmered, an entire pack watching. They didn't move. They simply observed. Kalen stroked the cub gently. You don't fear me, do you? The cub tilted its head, almost as if listening, then slipped free and bounded back into the shadows. The pack melted with it, gone as silently as they had appeared. Kalen remained kneeling, staring into the dark. She didn't understand the connection. She only knew it was real, and if Draven ever found out, he would see her as more dangerous than the jungle itself. That night, the outpost hummed with nervous energy. The day's attack still lingered in every hushed conversation. Draven walked the perimeter with his lieutenants, barking orders for more turrets, more mines, more fire. From her small quarters, Kalen watched through a slit window. The predators had spared them, but she knew Draven would never see it that way. To him, survival meant domination. To her, it meant balance. She lay on her bunk, hands clasped behind her head, staring at the thin ceiling. Outside, the jungle whispered, restless. Somewhere out there, the cub she had touched prowled beneath the stars. She closed her eyes and whispered back, as if it might hear, I'll keep you safe. Somehow. But in her gut, she knew the commander's suspicion was sharpening, and the colony would not stay ignorant of her gift forever. The jungle would see to that. The morning air reeked of fuel and ozone. Kalen stood on the wall, arms folded, watching Dravan soldiers roll out heavy plasma throwers. The barrels glowed faintly as they warmed. Colonists clustered on catwalks and rooftops, whispering uneasily. They all knew what was coming. Operation Scour begins now. Draven barked from the command platform. His voice carried like steel across the settlement. The predators adapt too quickly. We burn their nests. We break their cycle. We remind them who owns this ground. A chorus of yes, sir, echoed. Kalen clenched her jaw. The jungle stretched endlessly before her, green and alive, filled with the sound of cicadas and distant calls. She wanted to scream that it wasn't the enemy, that Dravan's purges only stirred more violence. But the commander wasn't a man who listened. She dropped down from the wall, boots crunching on gravel. A few colonists gave her wary nods. One older woman, face lined by years of struggle, muttered, Keep your head down, Kalen. He's watching you. I know, Kalen said softly. The soldiers advanced through the gates in a wedge formation, flamethrowers hissing, rifles raised. Heat shimmered in the damp air as the first jets of fire roared across the undergrowth. Leaves shriveled, trunks blackened, smoke poured upward in choking waves. Kalen followed at a distance, ignoring the glares from 2 sentries ordered to keep her in sight. She kept her focus on the forest. She could feel it shudder with every burst of flame, like a wounded animal. Stop this, she shouted suddenly, striding forward. Dravan turned from the front of the column, visor lifted, face hard as stone. You again. You're provoking them, Kalen said. Her voice cut sharp through the rising smoke. Every time you burn their nests, they come back angrier. You're making the colony less safe. Murmurs rippled among the colonists watching from the wall. Dravan's gaze flicked toward them before snapping back to her. You think I'll risk lives and your feelings? His tone was razor-edged. Predators understand one thing. Fear. If we stop, they swarm us until nothing remains. Kalen stepped closer, unafraid of the armored soldiers. You're wrong. I saw them pull back yesterday because I told them to. They don't want war. You're the one forcing it. A hush fell. The words hung in the air like a live charge. Dravan's expression barely changed, but a muscle twitched in his jaw. Back to the walls. Now, you are not a commander. You are not even a soldier. You are a distraction, and I will not have you undermine discipline in front of my people. Kalen's fist tightened, but she said nothing more. She turned and walked away, anger burning through her chest. Behind her, the fire roared louder. By afternoon, the jungle struck back. The first alarm blared just as colonists began repairing charred fence panels. Shadows moved between the trees, fast, purposeful. Soldiers scrambled into position. Contact! A lookout screamed. The predators came like a storm. Packs of siltar poured from the tree-line, muscles rippling, claws flashing. Plasma bolts cut through the gloom, but still they came, relentless, slamming against the outer barriers. Colonists screamed as one of the beasts leapt the fence, tearing through a soldier before the man even aimed. Panic rippled down the line. Kalen sprinted from her quarters, heart hammering. She shoved past terrified settlers, scaling a supply crate to see over the crowd. Fire lit the wall. Bodies clashed in a blur of claws and armor. The colony was seconds from collapse. She didn't think. She just moved. "Hold your fire," she shouted, running straight for the breach. "Are you insane?" a soldier yelled, grabbing for her arm. She tore free and vaulted the barricade. The predators spotted her immediately, 6 golden eyes fixed on her. One roared, charging low. Kaelin stood her ground, breath steady. "Stop!" The word rang across the battlefield, sharp as a whip crack. The charging beast slowed. Snarls faltered into silence. Behind it, the rest of the pack shifted uneasily, claws scraping the dirt. Kaelin raised her hands, palms outward, voice firm but calm. "Go, back to the forest. Now!" For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, impossibly, the pack leader huffed, flicked its tail, and turned. One by one, the predators melted back into the green shadows. The air filled with stunned silence. Kaelin lowered her arms slowly. Sweat dripped down her temples. Her legs trembled, but she forced herself upright, refusing to show weakness. Around her, soldiers and colonists gaped. One man whispered. She told them to leave, and they listened. Another muttered. No weapon did that. Then Dravan pushed through the line, armor scorched from the fight, expression unreadable. His eyes locked on her with the intensity of a predator itself. "You," he said, low and dangerous. Kaelin turned, meeting his stare. "I stopped him. That's what matters." Dravan's silence stretched. His gaze flicked to the colonists, whispering, to the soldiers looking at her instead of him. His control was slipping, and he knew it. Finally, he stepped close, voice a growl meant only for her. "Whatever you did, it ends now. You are not a savior. You are a threat to discipline, to order, to everything keeping this colony alive." Kaelin didn't flinch. "Maybe order isn't what we need." For the first time, Dravan's composure cracked. A flicker of anger, sharp and dangerous, passed across his face. He turned abruptly, barking at his men. "Get the wounded inside. Double the patrols. Reset the perimeter. Move!" The soldiers obeyed instantly, but the silence among the colonists lingered. Their eyes followed Kaelin as she stepped back into the crowd, some with awe, some with fear, but none with indifference. Later that night, Kaelin sat alone on the edge of the wall. The jungle stretched before her, lit by moonlight. The smoke from Dravan's purge still hung in the air, bitter on her tongue. She closed her eyes, hearing the faint echoes of the predator's retreat. She hadn't imagined it. They had obeyed her. But Dravan was right about one thing. The colony would never see her as anything but dangerous. A soft scrape pulled her from her thoughts. She looked down. At the base of the wall, half hidden in shadow, the Siltar cub sat watching her. Its golden eyes glowed faintly, unblinking. Kaelin's heart softened. She crouched, whispering, "You came back." The cub tilted its head, then vanished into the night. She stayed kneeling long after, staring into the dark. The line between survival and war was thinning, and she was caught in the middle. Above the jungle, the night sky flickered with distant movement. Pinpricks of light sliding across the stars. Ships. Something was coming. The first colonists spotted the ships at dawn. By midday, the whole settlement was buzzing. Silver streaks cut across the sky, silent and deliberate, leaving no trails behind them. Too fast for shuttles, too controlled for debris. By the time Dravan assembled the council, the entire colony knew someone else was here. Kaelin stood on the outer wall, watching the lights pierce the clouds. Her hands gripped the railing so tightly her knuckles whitened. She had seen storms sweep in, predators swarm gates, even Dravan's fires consume the forest. But this was different. This was deliberate, intelligent. Behind her, soldiers whispered nervously, "They're not ours." Could be Confederacy scouts. Or worse, pirates. Dravan's voice cut through the murmurs. "Speculation is weakness. They'll land soon enough. Until then, all posts stay alert. No panic. No rumors." Kaelin turned, meeting his gaze across the platform. His eyes lingered on her, sharp, assessing. She looked away first. By evening, the ships descended. 3 vessels broke through the cloud ceiling in tight formation, sleek and black, their hulls etched with faint violet glyphs that shimmered in the fading light. They didn't roar like human engines. They hummed, low and resonant, making the ground itself vibrate. Colonists gathered at the square, wide-eyed. Children clutched parent hands. Old miners muttered prayers. No one cheered. The ship slowed, hovered, then settled in the clearing just beyond the burned tree line. Dust billowed around their landing struts. When the doors opened, silence fell. They emerged tall, slender, armored in plates that reflected both sky and firelight. Their faces were hidden behind curved helms, eyes glowing pale blue. Weapons were slung across their backs, tools of war, no mistaking it. The lead figure raised a hand, palm outward. The gesture was neither hostile nor friendly, but froze every soldier on the wall. Kalen's breath caught. These were no pirates, no human faction. They were something else entirely. Draven strode forward with 2 guards at his side. Chin high, authority radiating from his every step. "You're trespassing on colonized ground," he declared, voice carrying. "State your identity and purpose." The lead alien tilted its head, helm shifting slightly. Then a voice emerged, not spoken but resonant, like metal bending inside Kalen's skull. "We are the Vair, custodians of this world." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Dravan's brow hardened. "Custodians? This is human territory, sanctioned for settlement under Confederacy Charter." The alien's reply was calm, unwavering. "Charters do not erase truth. This land is ours to protect. You burn what must live. You slaughter what must endure." Its glowing eyes turned, locking on Kalen atop the wall. "And yet, one among you listens." Every gaze followed. Heat flushed Kalen's cheeks, but she stood her ground. Draven didn't miss the shift. His voice sharpened, cold. "She is nothing, a farmer's child. Do not be deceived." The Vair ignored him. Instead, it stepped closer to the wall, head still tilted toward Kalen. "You spoke, and the predators obeyed. We saw. We felt it ripple. Why do you command them?" Kalen's throat went dry. "I don't command them," she said, louder than she intended. "I'd asked, and they listened." The alien studied her a long moment before replying. "Then you are marked. The jungle knows you, perhaps more than you know yourself." The colonists whispered louder. Dravan's face darkened. "Enough," he snapped. "This conversation is over. You have no authority here. Return to your ships and leave, or we will respond as any sovereign colony must." The Vair's helm turned slowly back to him. The paws stretched, heavy and electric. Then the alien spoke once more. "Your fires dishonor this place. Your war will end, with or without consent." And then, as smoothly as they arrived, the Vair retreated, their black armored forms vanishing into the glowing dusk. Night dropped like a curtain. The colony thrummed with unease. Soldiers doubled patrols. Colonists argued in hushed voices, some insisting the strangers were dangerous, others whispering that maybe they were right. Kalen walked the shadowed paths alone. She replayed every word, every glance. "You are marked." The phrase coiled inside her chest, heavy and alive. She was nearing the outer gate, when a shape stirred at the tree line. Her breath caught, then eased. The cub, the same small siltar from before. Its golden eyes glowed in the dark. It stepped forward, unafraid, as if it had been waiting. Kalen crouched low. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why do you follow me?" The cub padded closer, pressing its snout against her hand. Warm breath ghosted across her skin. In that instant, something passed between them. Not words, not even thoughts, but a weight of recognition, primal and certain. Kalen shivered. She pulled her hand back slowly, heart hammering. "You know," she murmured. "You understand." A rustle behind her broke the moment. She spun. Draven stood in the shadows, arms crossed, expression sharp as glass. "I knew you were trouble," he said quietly. Kalen's stomach nodded. "You saw." "I saw enough," he cut in. His eyes flicked from her to the cub, then back. "And so did everyone else today. The alien singled you out. The beasts obey you. Tell me, Kalen, are you human or something else wearing human skin?" His words hit like a blade. "I'm me," she snapped. "That's all." Draven stepped closer, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Understand this. Whatever power you think you have, it is not yours to wield. I will not let you fracture this colony. Tomorrow you stay inside, away from the walls, away from them." Kalen met his stare, unblinking. "And if I refuse?" For the first time, Draven smiled. A cold, thin smile with no warmth. "Then you won't live long enough to regret it." He turned and vanished into the night, leaving her trembling, not with fear but with rage. The cub nudged her hand again, grounding her. She looked into its eyes and felt the jungle pulse beyond the walls, ancient and vast. The Vair were right. Something bound her to this place. Something Draven couldn't burn away. And now, for better or worse, the whole colony knew it. The colony awoke to lockdown. Draven's orders spread to the settlement like fire. All gates sealed, patrols doubled, no one allowed near the tree line without clearance. Soldiers patrolled the streets with rifles in plain sight, boots echoing against metal walkways. The message was clear. Fear was now policy. Kaelin sat on the edge of her bunk, staring at the dim light strip above. Her door was locked on the outside, a guard posted to make sure she didn't wander. Draven had kept his promise. "You think you can cage me," she whispered into the silence. "But you don't know the first thing about me." The memory of Aveir's words pulsed through her mind. "You are marked. The jungle knows you." By midday, the first crack appeared in Draven's plan. A commotion drew colonists into the central square. A hunting party hadn't returned. When search drones found them, the feeds were worse than anyone imagined. Bodies shredded, weapons torn apart like toys, the ground churned with claw marks. The colonists' voices rose, sharp with fear. The purges did nothing. "We're trapped in here. The commander's just making it worse." Draven mounted the command platform, armored and imposing. "This is proof the predators cannot be bargained with," he thundered. "They will strike until we drive them back into extinction. I will not falter, and neither will this colony." The crowd muttered, unconvinced. Eyes turned not to him, but to Kaelin, standing under guard at the square's edge. "She stopped them once," someone whispered. "She's the only reason we survived that last attack. Maybe she's the answer." Draven's jaw tightened. He saw the shift, and he moved to crush it. "You put faith in superstition?" His voice cut like a blade. "A girl who plays at taming beasts? That is weakness. Weakness kills. Order saves. Do not forget that." But doubt had already taken root. That night, Kaelin's door hissed open. Not Draven, but the guard posted outside. A young man, barely older than her, nervous in his ill-fitting armor. "I shouldn't," he muttered, eyes darting down the corridor. "But people are talking. They think you're different, that maybe you can do what he can't." Kaelin rose slowly. "And what do you think?" The guard swallowed. "I think I saw those things bow to you. I can't explain it, but I know what I saw." He stepped aside. "Go before I change my mind." Kaelin slipped into the hall, heart pounding. "Thank you." She didn't head for the jungle immediately. First, she sought the rooftops overlooking the clearing where the Aveir ships rested. Their hulls gleamed faint violet under the moonlight, silent and waiting. As if sensing her presence, a figure emerged from the nearest ramp, the same alien leader as before. "You disobeyed," the voice resonated in her skull. "I didn't choose this," Kaelin shot back. "But your arrival has made it impossible to ignore. Draven's burning the jungle alive, and people are dying because of it." The Aveir tilted its helm. "And you? What will you do?" Kaelin hesitated, then answered, steady, "Stop him. Somehow." The alien's gaze lingered. "The predators heed you because you bear the mark of resonance. Few among any species hold it. You are tied to the weave of this world, to its balance. Draven is breaking it, and balance always demands correction." "Then help me," Kaelin said. The Aveir's reply was not yes or no. Only, "We will watch." And the alien vanished back into the ship. The next day, Draven made his move. Kaelin was dragged before the council chamber, her arms bound. Draven stood tall, voice controlled but venomous. "She consorts with the outsiders," he declared. "She sneaks beyond her quarters, undermines order, speaks their lies. She is a threat not only to this colony, but to humanity's claim on this world." Gasps spread through the room. Colonists stared, some horrified, some uncertain. Kaelin lifted her head. "You want truth? Here it is. Your purges are failing. The predators aren't enemies. They're defending their home. You keep making it worse, and the colony will fall. I can stop them. I already have. You saw it." Murmurs rose, louder now. Draven slammed his fist against the table. "Silence. This is sedition. She is not a savior. She is an infection, and I will cut it out before it destroys us." He gestured. Guards seized her arms, dragging her toward the holding cells. Kaelin's gaze swept the room. She saw fear, doubt, and in more than a few faces, hope. The cell was dark, cold, and windowless. Kaelin sat against the wall, heart steady despite the ache in her wrists. Draven thought this was victory, but she knew the truth. His control was slipping. Hours passed. Then, scraping, the faint sound of claws on metal. She held her breath. From the shadows, Golden eyes blinked into view. The cub. It had followed her again, slipping past barriers no human patrol could hold. Kaylin knelt, pressing her forehead lightly to the bars. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. The cub rumbled softly, as if dismissing her words. Then it sat unmovable, keeping watch. Her chest tightened. She wasn't alone. The next morning, explosions shook the colony. Kaylin jolted awake to alarms wailing, lights flashing red. Shouts echoed down the corridor. Panic, not discipline. The predators had attacked again, harder, faster, coordinated like never before. She gripped the bars. "Let me out. I can stop this." No answer. Only chaos. The cub snarled suddenly, for bristling. Then, to her shock, it rammed the bars. Once, twice. Metal shrieked. On the third strike, the lock burst open. Kaylin stumbled out, staring in disbelief. You broke me out." The cub huffed, tail flicking, then bounded toward the exit. Kaylin followed. When she emerged into the square, the scene was carnage. Soldiers fired wildly, colonists screamed, and Draven stood at the front lines, directing with fury. But the predators pressed from all sides, overwhelming even the flamethrowers. Kaylin sprinted into the open, raising her voice above the chaos. "Stop." The word cut through the din like lightning. The predators froze. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of burning debris. Dozens of eyes glowed in the smoke, fixed on her. She lifted her arms, palms open, and the weight of the jungle surged through her veins. "Go," she commanded. "Not tonight. Not here." Slowly, impossibly, the predators withdrew. One by one, they melted back into the forest. The colonists stared, wide-eyed. Soldiers lowered their weapons. The cub pressed against her leg, proud and unafraid. Kaylin turned, breath ragged, to see Draven. His face was a storm of fury and disbelief. "You," he hissed. "You dare undermine me again?" Kaylin's reply was steady, unflinching. "I saved them, and you know it." The crowd murmured louder, some nodding, some glaring at Draven. His grip on power wavered before her eyes. And in that moment, Kaylin knew the balance had shifted. The colony held its breath. Predators had melted into the jungle, their departure leaving a silence more crushing than their howls. Smoke coiled from shattered barricades. Soldiers clutched their weapons, and colonists stared not at the burned treeline, but at Kaylin. She stood in the square, chest heaving, the cub pressed against her side. For one heartbeat, no one moved. Then Draven stormed forward, visor torn off, face twisted with fury. His voice rang like a whip. "You think this proves anything? You're a girl with tricks. Tricks don't save colonies. Command does." Kaylin raised her chin. Command nearly got them killed. What saved them was listening. The words rippled through the crowd. Soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. Parents clutched children closer. Draven saw it, his grip slipping, and his fury sharpened into something colder. "You defy the chain of command in front of all. That is treason." He drew his sidearm, leveling it at her. "And I end treason myself." Gasps tore through the colonists. Kaylin didn't flinch. Her gaze swept the square, locking eyes with the frightened, the weary, the doubtful. She spoke not just to Draven, but to them all. "Every fire he lit brought more predators to our walls. Every purge left us weaker. If he keeps leading, we won't last another season. I didn't fight the beasts. I stopped them. And they listen. If you want survival, if you want your children safe, you know the truth already." The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon. Draven's jaw tightened. He cocked his pistol. "Last chance. Stand down." "No," Kaylin said simply. The cub growled low. And then movement. Colonists shifted forward. Not toward Kaylin, but between her and Draven. An older miner. A young mother. A scarred soldier who'd lost half his squad to the purges. One by one, they formed a wall. "She saved us," the miner said. "She's the reason I'm still alive," the soldier added. "We won't let you kill her," the mother whispered fiercely. Draven's face turned pale beneath the rage. His own people were defying him. "Step aside," he barked. "That's an order." No one moved. Above, the low hum of engines stirred. The Vare ships, silent since their arrival, descended lower. Shadows rippled as their forms stepped onto the rooftops, watching, waiting. Their glowing eyes burned through the smoke. Kaylin called to them. "You said you'd watch. Then see this. Humans can choose balance too." The alien leader inclined his helm, neither speaking nor interfering. The decision, it seemed, belonged to the colony. Dravan's arm shook as he aimed. His voice cracked, raw. "You'll damn us all. Without fire, without fear, we're nothing but prey." Kaelin stepped closer, her voice calm but cutting. "No, Commander. Without fire and fear, we're finally human." The crowd surged. Soldiers lowered rifles. Colonists shouted. A tide of voices rising against Dravan's last command. He saw it, saw his authority collapsing into dust. In that instant of desperation, he fired. The shot rang out like thunder. But the cub leapt faster than sight. The plasma bolt scorched past, searing air. The little beast landed between Kaelin and Dravan, snarling with fangs bared, eyes glowing like molten suns. Chaos erupted. Soldiers lunged to restrain their commander. The gun clattered to the ground. Dravan fought like a man drowning, but hands pulled him down, voices shouting. "Enough! Enough!" Kaelin stood frozen. The cub pressed protectively against her. Smoke swirled. The colony had chosen. Hours later, Dravan was gone. Confined under guard. Stripped of rank, his reign ended not by predators or aliens, but by the very people he sought to control. Kaelin stood on the wall as dawn bled across the horizon. The jungle spread before her, alive and endless. Colonists worked quietly below, repairing barricades, tending wounds. Yet their eyes held something new when they looked at her. Not fear, not suspicion. Hope. The cub sat at her side, golden eyes watching the forest. A shadow stirred above. The Ver leader descended from its ship, tall and silent. "You have shifted the balance." The voice resonated in her mind. The colony is no longer ruled by fire. Kaelin met its glowing eyes. "Not by me either, by all of us." The alien inclined its helm. "Then this world may yet endure." It turned to leave, but paused. "You are marked. That bond will never fade. Guard it well." And with that, the Ver vanished once more, their ships humming faintly in the morning air. Kaelin closed her eyes, letting the sound of the jungle wash over her. Calls, rustles, the deep heartbeat of something vast and ancient. For the first time since arriving on this world, she didn't hear a battlefield. She heard home. The cub nudged her hand. She smiled faintly, ruffling its fur. "Looks like we got work to do." It purred low, like thunder rolling in the distance. Behind her, the colony stirred, not with fear, but with something stronger. Together, they would endure, and the predators of this world would no longer be enemies, but allies. Humanity hadn't come to tame the jungle. Humanity had come to belong.